Alright, what act of kindness will you never forget? Jorcam says, neighbours asked to borrow my truck. Told them I could not trust my truck because the tyres were bad. Next day, Mr. Neighbour called and said he was getting new tyres for his Suburban and I could have his old ones. Oh, amazing. Told me to just show up at this certain tyre shop and they would put them on. Get to the tyre shop and they put on brand new Goodyear tyres. I asked what happened to the old tyres I was supposed to receive. Shop owner said the old tyres was just a story to get me in the shop. Mr. Neighbour built me a full set of new tyres instead of the old tyres he said I could have. Man, that's awesome. That makes me happy. Countless Base, riding my bike on a long trip through Canada. With about 50 miles to go, I had a major mechanical failure. Stuck on the side of the road in a foreign country within 5 minutes. At least 10 cars had stopped to check on me. That's amazing. One guy loaded my bike in the back of his truck and drove me 30 miles to the border where I could catch a ferry back to the US. Amazing kindness and generosity towards a stranger. I love that. That makes me happy. He just asked that I pay it forward, and to date I've helped 5 cyclists who are broken down in honour of that promise. Amazing. Good work. I was given access to a shower and a hot meal after being homeless for 9 months. Crazy. I was 9 years old, waiting for the school bus in Wisconsin winter. I had a thin coat, no hat or gloves. A woman driving past saw me and stopped, giving me a blanket from the back seat of her car. It was a long skinny one, so she wrapped it around my head and shoulders like a big scarf. I remember thanking her, but being confused. I told her I didn't know how I would give it back when I was done borrowing it. Oh bless. She hugged me and said not to worry. I still have that blanket. That's cute. People are good. Alternator died while I was driving home from university. Engine died as I exited the freeway in the middle of the night in a not so pleasant part of town in the days before cell phones. As I'm pushing my car out of the intersection, a guy in a truck comes up and offers to push my car to my neighbourhood a good 3 miles away. Crikey. He does so, and I'm pulling into my neighbourhood. He simply gives a wave and drives off into the night. I never even had a chance to thank him. Amazing. When I was young, 19, I lost my wallet and someone used my license to rack up tickets. It was pretty obvious once courts looked at the location of the tickets and what vehicle was used, the signature, that it wasn't me. I had to go around 3 courts clearing it up. The 3rd judge was the only one with a problem. He said I had failures to appear since the tickets were ignored. I explained what was happening and how I've been dealing with this, and I came in as soon as I was made aware of the issue. He wanted to put me in jail because he didn't trust I'd be back. He wouldn't look at my paperwork because it was an arraignment. He would only look at it during the trial date. I didn't know what to do, but I had the name of the public defender memorized. I asked if I could talk with her first. He called her in and said, "This young man seems to know you." I quickly explained what was happening and showed her my evidence. She told the judge that if he didn't release me to come back, she'd pay my bail out of her own pocket. Oh wow. He scorned me but released me. I just had to return the next month during the trial date. I was 19 then, 39 now. Good work. I took my sister, who's in a wheelchair, to the cinema for the first time on my own. At the end, I realised I couldn't undo the brakes and was blocking everyone. I felt like crying because I thought everyone was pissed at me, but some nice lady helped me, then took me and my sister out. She said she once had a son who needed a wheelchair. This was long ago, but I'll never forget. Amazing. Love these ones. These ones make me happy. I was out of a job at the time that I had to support my mother. Finally landed one, but I had to walk back and forth and I didn't have any shoes that would hold up on the walk or the work. Went to Facebook and Mum asked around for some hand-me-downs we could buy from someone. A day later, a very kind man showed up with a brand new pair of really nice shoes he had just gone out and bought for me. He left before I could even get any money for him. I cried. That's so cute, man. These are so good. These are making me really happy reading these. Yeah, stuff like this just makes you happy and makes you smile, hey? All good. Let's have a look. My gym teacher purchased me lunch in 3rd grade after I dropped mine. I'm 34 years old and still remember this. So powerful, I love it. I recorded a homemade album with my garage band in high school and handed out a few CDs. A few weeks later, my English teacher approached me with 5 pages of notes and what he liked and what I could improve on. That is unbelievable. That is so cool, because it's time and effort that's gone into that. That's amazing. He apparently got the CD from someone at the high school and listened to it all the way through. It was over an hour long. He didn't know I was the singer and guitar player until he asked the person who gave him the CD. Unbelievable. He said that if I ever got a shot in a studio, I would create something amazing. That's so awesome. Thank you to all the teachers out there who believe in their students. It makes all the difference to some of us. Unbelievable. Amazing. During the single most difficult time of my life, a stranger on Reddit gifted me $500. To me, it was a fortune. I received it while at work and just broke down. That's so cool. So nice. It started the change of my life, and a few months later I was able to move, met my now fiance, had my son, and found my job. I still message them once in a while to update them on my life and continue to thank them for their generosity. But I think they abandoned their account years ago. That's so crazy. Edit, you've all inspired me to write them another message. It's been a while. And a shout out to everyone who has or wants to do something similar. I hope you understand how earth-shattering in the best way possible those kind of gifts can be. Wow. Getting a bit emotional reading these ones today. These are crazy. At work, I was complaining about heartburn once. I was still pretty new to the job, didn't really have any work friends. Felt like an outsider. My life outside of work was pretty as well. The bartender on shift overheard me and ran to a nearby coffee shop to get me a chocolate milk. It definitely made the heartburn go away, but it was such a needlessly kind act. I don't think I'll ever forget it. 2 years later, we're still friends, and she is definitely one of the kindest people I've ever met. Amazing. These are cool. I literally coasted into a gas station out of gas on my motorbike, then realised I didn't have my wallet. Some lady saw me patting on all my pockets and I was upset and offered to fill up my tank. I only let her put $5 in, which on a bike is a lot, but it meant so much to me. Oh, bless. Amazing. I was at a concert and a couple behind me gave me a VIP pass to get a picture with the artist because their friend couldn't come. Never will I forget it. That's so cool. Man, people are awesome sometimes. People are awesome. 1. In middle school, my softball team lost a match. A girl from the other team walked over to me and handed me a blue pouch. At first, I couldn't open it, so I said thank you and walked with my parents to my car. After examining it for a while, I was able to open it and pull out this really cute softball necklace. I still have it to this day. Number 2, I had to get a spinal fusion surgery for my scoliosis. During my week-long recovery, one of the nurses asked me what my favourite candy was out of the blue. I told her chocolate. During her next shift, she walked in with a huge tin full of chocolate and a cute stuffed sloth. I still have the sloth. She also put up balloons and a happy birthday sign for my sister who was visiting me. Amazing. 3. You've been lucky. Another nurse cried when I left and hugged me. I was literally astounded by their kindness towards me. I felt really bad that they had to take care of me all the time during my stay, but they really made me feel welcome. That's amazing. Also, my surgery was successful and I'm basically pain-free. So good to hear. I was bullied a lot as a kid. Oh man, that sucks. Sorry to hear that, dude. There were 3 boys in the neighbourhood who were always really mean to me. Well, there was a new kid who had just moved in, like half the size of the neighbour boys, and he already had a target on his back because he was very flamboyant. Well, one day the boys were picking on me, and this kid, it was the first time anyone ever stood up for me, and man, he got pissed. He got his ass kicked. I felt terrible, but he was super happy about it afterwards. I wish I'd remembered his last name. I hope he has an amazing life. Yeah, karma's a real thing. Love it. I have 2 moments that I'll never forget. When I was younger, my mum was depressed and we had very little money. It was either heating or eating a lot. An old lady around the corner from us would invite us over for tea sometimes, or breakfast before bed. She knitted me, my baby sister and my mum cardigans, socks and a blanket each one winter when it was really bad. That's so cute. I was at a terrible time in my life at 17, had a bad day at work, and then my train home was 1+ hour late. I just started crying at the train station and was really wondering if it was all worth it. Oh, sad. A woman just held me for a bit while I cried. She was a complete stranger. I've never seen her since, but I needed her, I guess. I think she saved my life that day. That's unbelievable. Oh, these are emotional today. These are heavy. When I was little, I was waiting for my aunt in the supermarket. Whenever someone exited the supermarket, the doors were automatic, so every time someone left, I stood by the doors and pretended to magically open the doors. One person said, "Thank you." Bless. I was in New York City taking a lunch break at a job I absolutely hated. I was sitting eating alone at McDonald's, and after about 15 minutes, this man in his 40s or 50s, I'm a 28-year-old male at the time, goes up to me and says something like, "Hey man, you look really sad. Things will get better," and just shook my hand. It takes a lot for one adult man to offer that up to another strange man. Really cheered me up. Edit, wow, woke up to this blowing up. Most upvoted comment, yeah, thanks for the gold and the awards. I was around 6 years old and went out to ride my bike. My parents were behind me walking and I was going ahead and coming back to them every 5 to 10 minutes. But I forgot to turn around and realised I am lost, so I started crying after some unsuccessful attempts to find them. One kind man, probably in his 60s, stopped and asked me multiple questions about what had happened and who were my parents. It turned out that he knew my grandpa. He contacted him, got my parents' numbers and called them. They decided where to meet and after 20 minutes we were there. I was so happy and relieved and thanked the old man. I love this. He lives in the block of flats as my grandpa and I sometimes help him by carrying the groceries or fixing something in his house. I would never forget this act because things could have gone wrong for me. Love it. That's such a cool story too. I was bullied in elementary school and an older boy defended me. He became my first crush and I still remember him. Love it. As a boy, I developed rheumatic fever and had to stay home for months to work through it and recover. When the lady next door found out how sick I was, she made a big pot of homemade chicken soup. It was delicious and full of healthy, fresh ingredients. To this day, Mum believes that it was this woman's kindness and love she put into her soup making that helps me recover faster. Amazing. When I was 10 plus, played Little League. When the team won a game, everyone would go to the dairy barn for ice cream cone to celebrate. Had a Nazi coach one year who determined that if you didn't play in the game, you didn't get an ice cream. I didn't play one game that we won, I wasn't very good anyway, but still I went to the dairy barn just to hang out with my friends. Others usually went home. The lady server asked me what I wanted and I told her that I couldn't have one because I didn't play in the game. She gave me a funny look and went on to the next customer. Later, as we were sitting at the outdoor picnic tables, this same lady came out and gave me a huge ice cream cone. "You're still a winner," she said and walked away. That's awesome. I still choke up a little when I think about it. I fainted walking up steps on my own to calculus at university. A stranger caught me and put me down on the landing. If it wasn't for him, I would have gotten very hurt. Look at that. Good timing. When I was at school, I helped a girl out when she was having a meltdown in the bathroom. A few weeks later, she pretended to be my friend who had been waiting to meet me when I was being followed home by two guys. Crikey. We never saw each other outside of those two occasions, but I still think about her and hope she's doing okay somewhere out there. I broke my foot and was trying to limp my way across campus with crutches in the pouring rain. Someone ran over with their umbrella and walked across campus with me so I wouldn't get rained on. I love this. This makes me happy, these videos. These are so good. The time my car broke down in the middle of the night and my phone died and I didn't know what to do. A random stranger pulled over and told me we all need a little help sometimes, and I'll never forget her words as she helped me jumpstart my car. Love it. Rusty Knight says, I was trying to fly internationally for the first time to visit a friend in the UK in spring 2010. You know, that year that the volcano erupted and you couldn't fly into or out of Europe for quite some time. I rode up to Chicago on the train not knowing if I was going to have a flight or not. It was just all kinds of extra stress on top of the stress of trying to travel internationally for the first time. Ultimately, I didn't get to go. Flight got cancelled shortly after boarding, but the airline gave me my money back and I just hopped the train back home. But the flight was still scheduled when I got to O'Hare, so I checked in and went to sit at the gate. Couldn't eat, trying to read with a tear-stained face that most people were ignoring. This older couple came and sat right next to me at a time when the waiting area was pretty much empty and simply began a conversation. Husband and wife, trying to get home to Amsterdam, had been stranded in the US for days but came and talked to me. Didn't acknowledge the state my face was in, but they knew anyway. They didn't have to, and it was some very small kindness after a really rough day. I'll remember those folks and their kind, distracting conversation for a long time. That's cool. So once in high school, I ate at a Mexican restaurant and unknowingly threw away my car keys on my tray when I was done eating. I went and asked a worker if he had cleared them off the table and he said no, but that he had just taken the trash out to the dumpster. I remember going outside and calling my dad to ask if there was a spare and he told me no. So I went back inside feeling humiliated and about to ask if I could look through the dumpster, only to see that this man had already dug through the dumpster on my behalf and ended up finding my keys for me. He just went above and beyond, and to this day I'm so grateful for his help. That's awesome. People are cool, hey? People are awesome. Super Little Stitious says, I transferred in the middle of the first grade to a school that did ice cream Fridays, where you'd pay like 50 or 75 cents for whatever kind, and then you'd watch an educational video in the classroom. I was unaware of this when the first Friday rolled around, so I didn't have any change, and neither did the kid next to me. Normally there would be a few who didn't get ice cream, but this day we were the only two. So the teacher called both of us aside and gave us the change required to have our ice cream. That's awesome. I think the biggest thing was that she didn't do it in front of the other kids, so it looked like we had brought the money all along. It was incredibly kind of her. She was a wonderful teacher outside of that as well. I and another student didn't have enough money for ice cream the day everyone else did. The teacher bought us ice cream so we wouldn't be left out. There's some cool teachers in this world. Edit, I'm going to try and reach out to the school to find the teacher and send her an email if possible, as a lot of you suggested. That's awesome. Cranberry Boggle says, after my dad passed away, my depression kicked into overdrive. Oh, that sucks. I went to the doctor and got a prescription for antidepressants. While I was picking up my prescription, I started crying. When I apologized to the pharmacist for crying like a child, the pharmacist said, you don't have to apologize. You recognize you have a problem and you're trying to fix it. That is a brave thing. It changed my perspective on treating my mental illness. Yeah, touche. That's awesome. Glad to hear you're getting better too. I was paying for groceries at a Trader Joe's and the cashier, female, 60 plus, asked me what I'm doing this weekend. I tell her I'm actually graduating with my master's degree on Saturday. Her eyes light up, beaming smile, and tells me congratulations and to wait right there. She comes back a minute or two later with a small bouquet of roses and tells me to celebrate my accomplishment. That's awesome. Particularly meaningful since my parents could not make the ceremony. I thanked her, gave her a smile and a hug, and never saw her again. I love it. I had just lost my insurance and my epilepsy medication was over $400. The pharmacist got me some coupons that cut the price in half. That's awesome. She didn't have to, and it was against company policy. I now work in a pharmacy in the chain, but she did it anyway. Very nice lady. That's awesome. I missed my train to go home for Christmas from uni due to a crash near the station. I was completely broke and knew I wouldn't be able to afford another ticket. Life just got on top of me, knowing I'd have to spend Christmas alone in my student house and not being about to see my granddad, who is in rapidly declining health. I was bawling my eyes out on the platform when a janitor appeared out of a hidden stock room under a stairwell and brought me some tissues. He found out why I was so upset and said to leave it to me. Took me to the customer service desk and got them to reissue me a ticket for the next train home. I was so thankful. I started bawling again and he went on his way. That's so kind. Man, people are so cool. Some people are just amazing, aren't they? And then, just before I was about to get my train, he found me on the platform and gave me some snacks and a can of Coke, and it's just the nicest thing anyone's ever done for it. Amazing. So kind. I had a co-worker about 10 years ago. We became work friends, but he was moving to another state. So on his last day, he brought and gave me an iPod Nano, back when they were fairly new, completely filled with different music that we had talked about or listened to together. So awesome. No one had ever done something that thoughtful for me before. I could have cried. If you're out there, Gabe, that's something that I will always remember. That's so awesome. After the recessions and our house's foreclosure, my family and I were homeless during the summer between my 4th and 5th grade in school. When school started back up, I went to live with some family friends who clothed, fed and loved me as one as their own. Not only that, a few weeks before moving in with them, one of my mum's co-workers heard about our homelessness and secretly organised a fundraiser for my parents out of the state park they were living in. Amazing. Along with about $1,000, they got me a book bag filled to the brim with all the school supplies I would need for the year. Still brings me to tears thinking about. I just graduated high school this May and I'll never forget it. Amazing. Anything for Selena. I worked in bridal for 6 years, which means I was berated by hormonal bridezillas nearly 5 days a week for 6 years. Crikey. After one particularly awful day at work, I decided to get Chipotle for dinner. I was defeated and exhausted. The girl making my burrito bowl genuinely asked me how I was doing and I nearly lost it. She was the only person to be kind to me all day. That's so bad. I held back tears during my entire transaction. That was about 3 years ago and I think about her kindness often. Please be kind to retail and food workers. Love it. Moved from a city to the country. I bought a large metal wine rack at a yard sale, I think, without thinking of how I would get it home. As I stood outside my car measuring, knowing damn well it wouldn't fit, an older man came up to me. He asked if I needed help getting it home and offered to follow me in his truck. I thought, okay, I'm getting robbed, but it was only $40 and I couldn't get it home anyways. The older man followed me home and helped me bring it into the house. We talked for 5 minutes or so, and as he was about to leave, I asked him, I just have to ask, what made you do this today? The man extended his hand to shake mine and said, just doing my good deed for the day. I was floored. That's amazing. People are the best, aren't they? I'm never moving back to the city, and I see this sort of kindness all the time where I am. So awesome. So awesome. Well guys, if this video has made you smile, laugh, cry, given you any emotions, please do hit like and subscribe. I appreciate you all. Keep doing the good things in the world and we'll speak to you soon. Take care.